So I fired up Underground the other day, and believe it or not, there were people in the lobby area, and somebody basically like messaged me and said, "Hey, you want to do a three-phase operation?" And I was like, "Man, I don't even remember what three-phase operation is." Welcome to the Gamer Dad channel. Let's talk the Division. Let's talk the old school classic, the Division game. And for those of you who are not happy with the windowed view of running the game, I've been doing this for a long time. I just like doing that and running it Windows. So just ignore the little taskbar and such. So this is very interesting because Underground was one of those modes that, when it dropped, it introduced the hunters. In fact, I was surprised we actually got to encounter some hunters. At first I was like, oh, what's going on here? And then that's when I realized, oh, the hunters are after us. So we peppered them a little bit. We showed them what it was about, and it just really kind of gave me this reminisce in terms of how we used to do things back in the day. But here's what I wanted to highlight in this video, because, since Heartland got canceled, there have been some ideas that have been floating across the community. Some people have been talking about, Ubisoft's current direction, possibly after having not sold a lot in terms of Avatar and having Star Wars be already controversial, having their Assassin's Creed game be controversial. What could they do right now? And these conversations have spanned all the way from, okay, if we kind of think about things, they're gonna probably have to pivot to their established IPs, and many of you already know that the Division is sitting on like 40,000 people who've played it uniquely. And then also the side of possibly those who are saying they need to just merge Heartland into the Division 3 as a mode. Now, many of you may or may not have heard anything about Heartland or seen the footage that was actually leaked on YouTube. But apparently, from what you got to see and from what we heard, it seemed as if that Heartland was going to be this kind of mode that would scratch the itch of survival. And I remember clearly also asking the developers on a live stream years back if they were going to bring survival to the Division 2, and they said they had no interest in doing that, not knowing that, this so-called Heartland concept was possibly going to be, scratching that itch. So what's missing right now, especially, and what I think really caught the Division 2 in a really strange place, was the fact that it did not leverage some of the most, or I would say one of the most iconic game modes that was in the Division 1, which was survival itself. So something like Underground and something like survival, in my opinion, should have easily been brought back. Yes, I know they brought the Summit, but it's a whole different feel. It's a whole different vibe from Underground. Even though it kind of had, some similar aspects to it, it just was not the same. You guys, I don't know if you really do remember, Underground was such a very contentious, mode, because it had been born through all of the terrible aspects of the Division in terms of the game having a lot of issues. It was also timed exclusive. Remember, it was on Xbox. I don't know if many of you remember this. It was available on Xbox and PC for a limited time before it showed up on PlayStation. And a lot of PlayStation folks, were not necessarily happy because they had signed this deal and so on and so forth. So what this is, in my opinion, going to signal to Ubisoft, especially seeing that people are still playing these modes from the Division 1, is that as they're making their Division 3 game, which, I've been one of the biggest proponents of, is that they actually consider bringing these modes that have resonated with a lot of players over the course of both games. From the Division 1, we can say survival needs to be in the Division 3 day one. Like, they don't even need to negotiate it. They don't need to try to bring it out as a DLC for hype. They just need to announce it on the very first day and say, hey, by the way, once you beat the game and you reach end game, you can now go into the Dark Zone and engage in survival mode. That by itself is going to open the door for a lot of people to come into the ecosystem, because number one, the open world will have multiple uses and the Dark Zone will have multiple uses, but we'll talk about that in a separate video. But I think getting into Underground, seeing people there and finding one person, that's a lot for a game that came out in 2016 that its support is very minimal. And running a three-phase directive operation, to me, was heartwarming in a sense. I'm kind of excited that this actually did happen. I'm really you guys don't really understand. Well, some of you do, that this is actually a big deal. For you to be able to get a game like this of survival in today's Division 1, currency is massive. And I'm really happy that, people really do enjoy and did enjoy these game modes in the Division. hopefully we see them in a Division 3. I'm really, really thinking that Ubisoft Massive needs to just leverage, these things that did stick and did work, and ensure that Division 3 is basically this robust, basically given success. It's going to be up to them, but this is one of those things where it's hard to fail the test because it's an open book test. Talk to me in the comment section. Let me hear your thoughts. I appreciate you guys' time and audience, and hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.